now working to combat climate change as a senior communications strategist. She is super competitive, loves pugs, maybe a bit too much, and has a great fondness for very ugly animals. Please welcome my friend Lauren. Hi, how are you? All right, let's hide that one.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well considering, yeah, let's get into this. First off, I like to start off with like a fun fast round. First of all, I am Samantha Cash. I am here with Weekly Woman. And I would like to do a fast round really quickly. Okay, so this is just like a one-word answer. So chapstick or lip gloss?
Chapstick.
Okay. Cake or cookies?
Cookies.
Bubblegum or mint?
Mint.
Book or Nook?
Book. But like I recently got a Nook and I got a Kindle and it's very handy, so I'm conflicted.
Beach or mountain?
Beach.
Spring or fall?
Spring.
Inside or outside? Trick question, everyone should be inside right now. Quarantine.
Well, that's fair. Fair, valid, but sad.
Fair but sad. All right. So where are you living? What are you doing? What's up with you?
Well, I'm currently at my parents' house in San Diego, but I usually live in DC. But I'm riding out the, global pandemic where there's backyards and sunshine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a big move? Was it a big culture shock when you first moved to DC? Because I know that's a huge difference going from like very Southern California to, proper East Coast.
It was a little bit, everybody dressed differently. I've learned about a clothing company called Vineyard Vines that every person so I moved to DC for college. And every person in like my freshman dorm, like first day was just clad in these outfits with a little whale emoji thing on it, and I had no idea what it was, and then learned quickly what it was. But it was a little bit of a culture shock, but not a whole lot. I don't think that outside of like the way people dress, but I don't think like the stereotypes of like our personalities are different. Like San Diego's slow paced, whereas the East Coast is fast paced. Like if you are fast paced, then you're fast paced. If you're slow paced, then you're slow paced. Like there are people everywhere who fit both sides of the coin.
What's your favorite thing about living in DC?
It's small, but it still feels like a big city. So it's only 6 miles wide, so you can see all of it in a day, and then some. But it still feels like a big city. It's still, I don't have a car there, and I don't need one. I can bike, walk, public transportation to get everywhere. There's a lot of different cultures. It still feels like a big city, despite the fact that it's pretty small. Also, it's not as north as New York City, and it's not as cold.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So what if I were to go to DC, what restaurant would you recommend? What's your favorite place to go?
So there's this little El Salvadorian place in the basement of a row house across the street from my apartment. And it has some of the best pupusas I have ever had. And that is where I would take you. 1, because it's convenient, and 2, because it's delicious. It's called El Reconcido Dos. It's like it's kind of like a cross between a quesadilla and a tamale. So it's got like the masa that you have in a tamale, but the filling is like, cheese and chicken or whatnot, or beans or whatnot. And then it's like kind of flat and round, and then griddled like a quesadilla.
I mean, once this quarantine shuts down, I'm flying out there solely for that reason. I mean, you as well, but
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So let's get into who you are and like why we're talking to you. Take me through step by step on who you are and how you got to, where you are today.
My name's Lauren. I grew up in San Diego, as you are aware, which is, surrounded by all of, like, we have every terrain and climate at our doorstep. We have the beach, a hop, skip, and a jump. If we want to see snow, we just have to drive up to the mountains an hour. I grew up doing outdoors things all the time. We'd go camping with my family all the time. We'd go backpacking, and I got interested in climate that way, in preserving our natural spaces, making sure everybody has access to the great outdoors, and then making sure that we have that access for future generations down the line, and climate change prevents that from happening. And so thought I wanted to be a lobbyist. Dad does, but on the state level. And then I learned very quickly that I don't like talking to strangers, and that lobbying was not for me. But the summer between my freshman and sophomore years, I interned with the Sierra Club on their political program, which is helping get environmental champions elected. And I helped write a web voter guide. So it was, you could look up the candidates running for office in your area, and you could see where they stand on certain issues, from, clean air and water to being pro-choice, things like that. And I realized that what I do like to do that is not talking to strangers is writing. And so from there, I knew that I didn't want to be a lobbyist. I wanted to work in the media and communication side of things to help persuade other folks and persuade legislators to do the right thing, or to protect our environment and our clean water and clean air for, to make sure everybody has access to that with the written word. And so from there, I interned at the White House and at a San Diego-based environmental justice organization. And then before I graduated college, Sierra Club hired me back full time to work in their comms shop on their transportation program and their gender program. And from there, I've worked on a few different areas leading up to a lot of our anti-Trump work, because he's generally not great for the environment, and working to oust a corrupt cabinet member from the EPA, and calling out all of the egregious things that the administration is doing to attack our clean air, clean water, and our climate. And since then, I've gotten a new job where I work behind the scenes with other environmental organizations, helping them with messaging and with content, so that they all can work together and have a united front, and get the right message out to continue pushing back on all of the assaults on our rights to breathe, drink, and to go outside.
Well, you're doing the good fight, and I'm sure it's a hard one. But I know that it's fun sometimes, because I know that you previously at your previous job wrote a lot of puns. Do you have a favorite, or that you remember, or anything? Do you have something that you really enjoyed that you wrote?
Yeah, so Scott Pruitt used to be the administrator of the EPA, and he mishandled the administration. He was using it like a corporate slush fund for himself. And one of the things he did was he bought, I think it was like $2,000 pens. It was an insane amount of money to spend on a pen.
Like utensils? Like pens?
Yeah, like to write with. Yeah, like pens, like, has ink. Oh. You write it down. And okay. I write press releases for a living. That's a lot of what I do. And I wrote a whole quote. I think it was like 2 or 3 sentences, and I think I fit 4 or 5 writing puns in there, being like, the writing's on the wall, he has to leave, things like that. And I think that's one of my favorite items. But he did a lot that led to puns. He spent a lot of money on hand lotion and mattresses and Chick-fil-A's. He made it. He made it. While he was awful, he did make it fun. It was cathartic to push back via wordplay.
Yeah, always healthy to have fun ways to handle upsetting situations.
Yeah.
So, where is your favorite place that you've traveled then? Because I know that you just did a cross country, drive as well. But do you have a favorite place that you've been?
Probably Australia, where I did study abroad, but Portugal was also really fun because I did it with my twin sister.
Who's also
we had a good time together. She is, yeah.
All right. I also know that you are big on running. My first question is, why?
It's you can do it anytime, anywhere. You don't need a gym. Also, as previously mentioned, I like to be outside, and it's it's an activity where you, unless you're on a treadmill, but that's sad. And I don't like to see the numbers move. It's distracting and I like that. And so I like to be outside and you know, you can do it in nature or on your blocks, but you can do it anywhere and always. And it's good exercise. And also I'm competitive with myself. And so it's a good way to, you know, you want to go faster or further the next day. And it's a travel activity where you can, yeah. And you're outside, which is always good.
Perfect. I know you just did the Ragnar, but I'm not quite sure what that is. Would you explain it? And then again, why?
So a Ragnar is odd, but one of the more fun things I've ever done. You get a group of 12 friends together, or in my case, 10. You rent 2 vans and you run 200 miles collectively over the course of 24 hours. So someone is always running. It's a relay race, and you have like you know, like a slap bracelet you got at like a book fair in elementary school.
Yeah.
That's the baton. So like the handoff is like slapping someone else's wrist with this bracelet, and then they start running. And it's great. And I did it in New Hampshire, but they do them all over the country. And we New Hampshire to the bottom of New Hampshire. It was called Reach the Beach, and so we went from the mountains to the ocean. They're delirious afterwards and during, so you're all like sleep deprived and running high on endorphins, and in close quarters, and everything is like happy silly at the end of it because everybody's so tired and so hyped up. And it's a lot of fun. And you don't run 200 miles yourself. It's split up. So I think I ended up running like 25 over the course of 24 hours. So like it's not like you're running a marathon straight. It's split up. Some of it was run at 3 a.m. Some of it was run at like 2:30 in the afternoon. You know, I think I ran 5 legs, maybe 6.
Oh my gosh, that's still a lot. 25 miles in 24 hours is still a lot of running.
It was a little sore afterwards, just a little.
Just a little. What other athletic activities did you like grow up doing and everything? Like, I know you're very active, so.
I played all of the sports, but not for a long time, so I never got good at any of them. I have a twin sister, and so we always had to play the same sport. But if one of us didn't like it, then we moved on to the next sport. So because of that, you know, Samantha and I started doing ballet together with kinder dance when we were like 3. And then from there, Alana and I did like jazz and tap, and also soccer and softball and tennis and swim team and water polo and track, and probably more than I'm forgetting. But currently I coach my work's softball team, and play on it, which is my well, it's canceled for the summer because of coronavirus, but it's one of the things I do like doing normally.
All right. So before we move into quarantine questions, I want to make sure everyone knows how many pug things did you have at your desk?
37. When people find out that there's something that you like and it's easy to find them, it's an easy gift, and it's a gift that I appreciate. But I get given a lot of pugs, and it just kind of became a thing. And so I had 37 pugs in a cubicle, which is there was a lot of pugs.
What was your favorite pug gift that you were given?
Oh, it was this terrifying finger puppet where you put the pug's head on like your middle finger, and then you had the feet on your other finger. You made it like walk, but to have its head lift up, you kind of had to flip people off, so that, you know, because it's a podcast, but you're like, you know, going like that. But it had orange eyes, so it was just like terrifyingly creepy. And like someone was just like, it was the stereotype of me, like, oh, that's a pug, to buy that for Lauren. And the thought that like it wasn't creepy enough to like stop this person from doing that, they were just like, pug, Lauren. And I found it hilarious. And it just sat there. I didn't have it on my hand a lot, but I rested its head on its feet, and it just sat in the corner of the desk.
I appreciate that, friend, so much.
I don't know why the person who created this finger puppet thought orange eyes were a good idea, but they did.
I frequently have dog things with orange eyes, you know? I find it the most appealing eye for a dog.
Yeah, definitely
So
natural.
very natural. All right. How is your quarantine going?
It's going I'm so it's going well. I to get here I drove across the country with a coworker. But so I'm living at my mom and my dad and my stepmom's house. But my stepbrother has heart trouble, so I had to be quarantined at my mom's house in Phoenix for 2 weeks before getting here. So we drove from DC to St. Louis and then St. Louis to Texas to Phoenix, and then I was there for 2 weeks, and then from there drove to San Diego, and then I've been in San Diego for I think 3 weeks now, maybe 4. But it's good. It's sunny here. Talking to my friends in DC, they're cold. It's raining, and I don't have that problem. And I live by myself in a small apartment, and I was a little worried about like drawing, a face on a volleyball.
Yeah.
So I yeah, so I came out here so I could be surrounded by people and sunshine, which I think was a good move, mental health
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah. And I know your sister Alana, she lives in New York City, so it's not like you guys could get together because, that's a hot
Mm-mm.
spot zone. So
Yeah. And her roommate is she's in medical school, and so she's doing her rotations at the hospital right now. And so she's being very careful, and Alana has a washing machine in a New York City apartment, which is unheard of, but is very helpful. She can, take her scrubs off and whatnot second she gets in the door, and they're being very safe. But it's also not a place where you should invite more people to be.
yeah, there needs to be a system in place that needs to be kept with that kind of situation. Um, what do you miss the most in quarantine? Because I know it's hard being inside, and I know we're not taking the brunt of the issue. We're very secure. We have wonderful homes in Southern California where we can go outside a little bit, but it's still hard to be isolated socially. So what's something that you wish you could have?
It's hard not to see people in person.
Yeah.
I live within like a square block radius with most of my DC friends. It just kind of happened to be that way. And so we were, always at each other's houses, just bopping along, seeing each other. And that's not the case anymore. Everything has to be very scheduled now because you all have to get on the Zoom at the same time. And 3 hours doesn't seem like a lot of a time difference, but it it is when you're scheduling like things after work and whatnot, because like you know it's while it's not late for me here, it can be like very late for them there or vice versa. Like they start brunch at like 9 a.m. in San Diego, all through like Zoom things. And so it's hard having to coordinate and stare at so many screens to see people. It's difficult.
Yeah. I saw your Instagram story with all of the food that you're making. What has been your favorite? What's been like the most challenging? Any good food stories?
Croissants were the hardest, but they weren't difficult. They just took a long time.
Mm.
And I enjoyed that one because to make croissants, you have to get like a long rectangle of butter. And to do that, you take a mallet and you just whack at some butter. Also cathartic. And so those were the most challenging, but also I liked making those the best. Also, just like, weekends, where you're not leaving the house, but you're also not working and you're seeing folks, but Zoom was only going for so long because it's hard to stare at screens. So
Yeah.
it took a long time, and it took like a day of doing like you fold it and then you put in the fridge and then you take it out an hour later and you fold it, you put in the fridge, take it out. So it was a process, and it took a long time, which I was thankful for because it took a Sunday, like an entire Sunday.
Perfect. Just take up more time, please.
Yeah.
Please. Speaking of taking up time, I know a lot of people are running out of like Netflix shows or things to watch. Do you have any suggestions, or have you been watching anything that you really recommend?
A lot of my coworkers had been telling me to watch Schitt's Creek, and I hadn't gotten around to it until this quarantine. And I got through it in like a week. I loved it so much. And I found myself talking like Alexis, and I was like, "You have to stop that." Yeah, with the little hands. So I'm not a little bit Alexis. I'm a lot of Lauren. But I loved Schitt's Creek. It was so funny.
Yeah, I
That was
also
that.
recommend Schitt's Creek. We've been watching the final season like one episode a night to like kind of string it along so we can appreciate it a little longer.
Wait, is it online?
We purchased it because
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because like,
Yeah.
we deserve a little treat sometimes. So just kind of like we've gone over fun things and like important stuff, but I just want to know, what do you think it is to be a woman today?
Opportunity. I don't think we're held back at the moment. Mostly not held back at the moment because of our gender, and so we're able to just go for it like we haven't been able to in past generations. And being a woman now means opportunity to do what you want to do, be who you want to be.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, that gives me so much hope. And then, like, final question: if someone were to come up to you, if a woman were to come up to you and ask for your advice, and you only had like a few minutes to talk to them, what is the best advice that you could give them?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. If you want to make something happen, just do it. Be persistent, go after what you want, and just do it.
Oh, I love that. Such good words of happiness in this time. Is there anything else you would like to say? Anything you'd like to add?
I hope everybody is doing the best they can, and that we'll all get through this and be at a happier time soon.
Yeah. Well, it was great having you on, Lauren. I am so happy to welcome you to the Weekly Woman Sisterhood. And I will probably see you over Zoom.
Sounds good.
Stay safe out there, everyone. Wash your hands.